everyone. Thanks for checking out this podcast. Today we are at Westchester Fit here in White Plains. This is going to be an interesting walkthrough. You're going to see, this is one of my favorite walkthrough gyms to check out. We're going to go downstairs, take a tour. We're going to meet Chris, the owner, and then we're going to get down to business and talk about it. But let's check it out. This is a good one to take a look at, and thank you for tuning in. So let's head on in. So I like this one. You go down the stairs and then you go through a labyrinth here, you get to the gym. It's always fun. So we made it.
What's going on, guys?
This is really like a labyrinth.
It is. It's actually a Soviet bomb shelter. This building was built in the 60s, and on the outside we had a write-up of it. It says like fallout shelter.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so it really is. Yeah.
This is Chris, by the way, owner of Westchester Fit here. He's a great guy.
How you guys doing?
So we're going to take a little tour, and then we'll dive into it.
So this is a very unique space, guys. When I opened up, actually yesterday, March 15th, was 13 years of business.
Wow, congrats. That's pretty amazing.
This whole area, we never thought we were going to stay here forever, but that was our welcome area. We got some cubbies and stuff. We have people that rent lockers. If not, people just leave their stuff in for the day. When we're in this side, at night and on the weekends, sometimes we'll run multiple classes. So this is one of the rooms. We also do a ton of personal training, and we do a lot of custom coaching where people kind of have their own program. So we have a separate space, which I love having now, because in the past I wanted a big warehouse, but now having the separation is really nice. So it's not a distraction from class. And obviously if you see around, we have a bunch of equipment in here. So yeah, let's check out the other side.
What was this like before?
This was nothing. There was nothing. I'll actually show you. So
cool.
This whole entry side that we went through now, we expanded to this side in November of 2015.
Okay.
And it's because another deal somewhere else fell through of somewhere I was going to move. Like last minute, we were going to sign papers, and then they actually tripled the figure that they had given me.
Damn.
So we ended up staying here, which I'm happy about. But this was the expansion in November 2015. But I'll bring you to the original room that we had March of 2010 until August of 2011. So it's literally just this room. That's it. Yes, just this. This is the whole gym. In this side, guys, we have like a little water machine. We have a refrigerator where they deliver fresh meals. We have our dumbbells, our kettlebells, our bikes. We have our main pull-up right here. And then the room now here expands. August 2011 into this side, we were here for another 4 years, and this is kind of what this branched out and built up. Remember, we were one of 2 gyms in Westchester County at the time, and I think at its peak pre-COVID, there was like 30 CrossFit gyms. So it was crazy, the saturation.
So and the wall was here then? This
was literally the frame. It was a 500 square foot room. We knocked the wall down. We came in here. We were the first gym with like showers, or a CrossFit gym with showers, and then this is the main space. It's just open space, and because we do functional training, that's kind of like what we need most. We need some equipment and just some space.
For sure. No, this is great. And this was a room too. This was like a regular office.
This was like storage.
Wow.
All of this stuff was storage and closets. So like I remember when I first signed the lease in there, this whole place was basically just like a storage unit with a bunch of crap. There was like nothing here, so I couldn't really see. And then I got delivered like a plain vanilla box. I remember the day they told me it was ready. I had, because Rogue Fitness, none of these fitness companies were actually around, I had a welder weld a pull-up rig together for me.
Wow.
And they had a custom-made rig that, you know, as the years progressed, we obviously got more modernized with equipment and stuff. But yeah.
Crazy. Well, we'll dive into that when we sit down too.
Awesome.
So, but awesome talk. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this Powered by Iron Health podcast, where we create a community that raises the standard of health and wellness. Today we are with Chris Guerrero at Westchester Fit. What's up, man?
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we just did a really cool tour.
Yeah, unique.
Let's start there. Let's let everyone know this was.
So, I think this building was, I want to say, it was built in the 50s and 60s during like the Cold War era, and
there's actually like a hazard fallout shelter thing on the back door where people come in through this back entrance. And some of the windows in here that are small, the small windows that we do have are like steel enforced, like plated so you can't get in or out. But that's what I was told. It was built during that time as a fallout shelter. So when we first started, we used to have a whiteboard that said the dungeon, and that's what it was kind of referred to because we're in a basement. So yeah, here we are.
No, it's a good word for a workout.
For sure. For sure.
Westchester Fit, you weren't always that way. How did this start? What do you guys offer? What makes you guys different here too?
Cool. So, man, I was working in finance. Got out of school, graduated from University of Michigan 2006. Went into finance. Originally, the plan was to become a sports agent. So I wanted to go to law school. Got out of college, wanted to get my feet wet for about a year, make some money. And then I was supposed to go to law school. Once I got a taste of making money, I didn't want to go back to law school. But at the time, the place I was working at, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. So I ended up getting a job at JP Morgan. I was on an operation trading sales, like purchase and sales desk. And I got hired there 2007. So right in the midst of this 2008, 2009, like this whole like subprime lending mortgage, like market collapse. Working there, making much better money, close to home. I mean, I think I like doubled my salary. A lot of my friends from Michigan who went to Ross Business School working in finance, I was like, all right, this is the way. This is what I have to do. After about 9 months, the novelty of working for like a big company like that just started to wear off. It was really easy work. I've always been into fitness and working out is always like a huge part of my life. And I started waking up every day. I was like, this can't be all there is to life. Like I can't be waking up at this age is not sure. Like, wow, I do not want to go to work. Started asking for more opportunity and all they gave me was more busy work. So I started interviewing at other hedge funds. I was like, maybe I just need to be on the front end instead of the back end. You know, I'll make more money. I'll take a Series 7, Series 63, all these trading certifications, and I'll just become a trader. I'll make more money. You know, before the age of 25, making six figures. I'm well on my way to, you know, making millions of dollars as I go on. I thought that was what I wanted. I was introduced to CrossFit methodology by this guy that I worked with, Steve. Steve was the brother-in-law. He was married to Rob Orlando's sister. Rob Orlando's one of the OG CrossFit guys. Yeah. So Steve was like, I think you'd really like this. He invited me out on Saturday. We went out to this guy's gym. He was one of the first CrossFit gyms like that I could think of like anywhere in the Northeast. But he had like a strongman take on it. So they had yokes, these Atlas stones, all this cool shit that we went and saw. And I remember the first day there was a crew of people training there. Whenever I tell people this story now, they get so annoyed. They were like, I saw them doing muscle ups on the rings and I asked them to show me. And like the first time I tried it, I got one. But I just fell in love with it. And this guy's like, hey man, you'd be like a really good athlete. Like we're having this competition, this spring throwdown in 2 months. Like you should sign up. Signed up, went there. I won the competition. And I was like hooked. I started just researching things on CrossFit.com, reading the CrossFit Journal, looking into how I could make this a business. And then my whole passion for like making millions of dollars and working in banking went away. All I could focus my time on was this. So I remember it was probably it was December 2009. I had ordered a bunch of equipment already. I had taken my CrossFit Level 1 certification in August of 2009. I had filled my parents' garage with a bunch of equipment. I had set in my mind that, hey, I'm going to just open a gym. I found this like plain vanilla box, which you guys saw, which was the original space. Signed a lease. The landlord gave me a favorable lease with a good guy clause, like said, hey, basically, if things don't work out, this isn't like a really lucrative space for us. We'll let you out of the lease, but let's try. So end of February, I put my 2-week notice in. March 2015 of 2010, I opened up CrossFit Westchester. And that's pretty much how it started.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the origin story.
Yeah, no, that's a wild story. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
You went from finance, found this love, and you were like, I just want to do that. What was it really that took you over the edge? Was it community? Was it fitness? fitness? Like, because a lot of people who work and then they do fitness and they're like, maybe I'll be a personal trainer,
right?
And it doesn't work out. Like, what was really
for me? Honestly, it was a selfish endeavor that I was addicted to CrossFit and wanting to. At the time, the CrossFit Games was just coming out and they were like vlogging it. Like, it wasn't like a big thing that it was. And I was like, I want to be the best in the world at that. Like, I love this shit and that's what I want to do. I want to compete in that. So I am going to open a facility to fuel my addiction to training and working out. And that's kind of how it started, right? So like, we were like the only show in town at the time. I think it was like one or two other gyms. And yeah, like it wasn't for any other, it wasn't for like a greater purpose of like, I wanted to help people. Like, of course, that was way more fulfilling to help people like, hey, I know what I'm doing and I can help you change your life. But it was less that and more so like the selfish pursuit of like, I want to see how far I can push myself. So that's kind of where I went with that. And I was like, I'd much rather do this and make less money and be happy than continue down this route.
Was there a time when you were in finance where you were addicted to finance?
No.
So what was your driving factor there? Just
money and the thought that like, I was making my parents happy. So my parents I'm a first generation Cuban immigrant. My parents were born in Cuba in like a communist country. They came here with nothing. And when I told my dad I got hired at JP Morgan, it was like his whole world was made. Because my older brother was working as an entrepreneur, but he wasn't working for a big like, wow, he's at JP Morgan. My dad, if I was a bank teller, he probably would have been happy. But I was like, no, I'm not a bank teller. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm actually on this like path where I could make all this money. And to them, I think living the American dream was like making a ton of money, being able to support your family and just having financial freedom, which is great. And there's definitely aspects to that I look at now in a different lens. But no, I was never addicted to finance. Wow. For sure. Yeah.
That's an interesting one. For when you did go into the CrossFit world, did you always have a personality where like if you wanted something you were going to go with?
I think I've always been unique in the sense that I am like, I think like my like superpower is like extreme discipline, which is why people said to me like, man, you would have been like in the armed forces. Like I wouldn't have been in the Navy. I would have been a Navy SEAL. If I wasn't in the Army, I would have been in like the, Green Beret. I would have been like special forces. I would have always had that like switch in my head that would have taken me to the next level. Just like when I set my mind to doing something, I'm going to do it to the nth degree until it's completed. So I don't know if that was just naturally instilled in me.
Do you think people are born with that or that can be learned? Because I'm similar, right? And most of the time successful business owners are like that.
Right. I think it could be learned, but I think for people that are not born that way, building out specific systems and checklists and standard operating procedures that they can follow can make them that way or make them more that way. But I think it's something you're innately born with or something environmental that you grow up with. Like, hey, you need to work really hard to get to this point. And there's a sense of giving people enough of the information that they need in order to get there. But then there's also some of that stuff that's like, you just kind of have to have it innately in you.
Dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I made a post yesterday on social media, like entrepreneurs are built different. Like they're just built different. Like the highs and lows, the amount of times I've been like, man, I wish I didn't have a business. Like I think during COVID, that thought for the first 6 months, like while my friends were all like sitting at home collecting a paycheck and I'm like gray hair after gray hair, my hair falling out. I'm like, why did I do this to myself? Right. But there's like the highs and lows of it. And I think it just takes a special kind of person to be able to weather the storm.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. Your mindset has to be so sharp. You always have to be evolving as an entrepreneur because there's always chicken. It does not matter. Right?
Yeah, and just staying mission focused, right? Because your brain and attention is going to be focused and you're going to be distracted on 100 different things you can do. But like something that I like to do is just focus on 2 or 3 things every 90 days. And if I can accomplish those 2 or 3 things, by the end of the year, you've accomplished 8 to 12 really major things, as opposed to I see people getting distracted with like, I need to do this. I got to go to Facebook marketing. Now I got to learn TikTok. I got to write a blog. I have to do a podcast. I have to train my staff on this. I'm like, let's just pick one thing. Get really good at that one thing, systemize it, then move on to the next thing.
Do you do that quarterly? Like, do you do a specific system? That sounds similar to a system I know, EOS. Have you heard of that?
I was hearing about that. I was in a call yesterday. I think it's from a book called Traction. They were talking about that. I haven't done that, but we do something called 90-day sprint. So it's like a 90-day year. This guy, Todd Herman, taught us the framework of it. And it's basically like accomplish more in 90 days than most people accomplish in a year's time, right? So what you do is you set like 3 or 4 really major goals, and every 30 days there are action items, and you could use like accountability metrics and stuff. So most of the time, like now it's like generating revenue, staffing, and like personal stuff for me. But I try to keep it very condensed into one thing. And the power of accomplishing just those things and hammering down on those things and getting them really accomplished just has a massive outcome to your overall production. And it could be with any aspect of your life. It doesn't have to be with business. It could be with schoolwork, personal fitness goals and stuff. You know, like I always tell people this, you don't have to change every aspect of your life. And I think oftentimes people get very overwhelmed with trying to change too many things at once, as opposed to like, hey, you don't have to add a workout routine, add steps in, get a fitness tracker, change your wardrobe, drink water, go paleo. Like that's going to overwhelm you. You're going to get burnt out on that in 6 weeks. Let's just give you like 3 small things to do right now. Do that really well for a month. If you crush that in a month, then let's meet again and talk about the next things that you add on to that once you've built that as a habit. But that's the problem. People have a very all or nothing mentality.
And then they fizzle.
They fizzle, yeah. They get really hot I always find like the sweet spot is 18 to 21 days in, and then they completely fizzle. It always happens. As opposed to just like, hey, just like do this one thing for like a month. Consistent. But people want that, I call it the Amazon Prime body. Right? They want it like that, but they're not willing to just take these small steps and appreciate the journey and the process. And it's like the way like my professional life is with actually helping people, it's the same way business is, right? Like I want to make X amount of money now, but you got to have that process in place in order to do that. So yeah.
A vision. I want to cycle back to that process you have for, specifically for Westchester.
For sure.
But let's start with you said before mission, and like, what is the mission here at Westchester Fit? And let's dive into, I know your life is changing, like let's dive into that too, like mission focus. What are you seeing?
So the mission of Westchester Fit is just to continue to help people both physically and mentally just achieve physical and mental fitness here, whatever that is defined for them as, right? So our process is prescriptive by nature. We don't do trial classes. We haven't done them in a while. We have a discovery call with people to make sure we're a good fit for them. And if we're not, I straight up like, hey, we're not a good fit for you. This is not a transactional business. I don't just want to take people's money, which might sound counterintuitive to other business owners. Like if I can't help you, or if I don't think you're going to be a good fit for our culture, I'll refer out to other businesses. Then we have them come in for a no sweat intro. And during that intro, we really sit down and get to know people. Like ask them what their goals are, peel those layers of the onion back. And most importantly, find out like what is it about what you're doing now that's preventing you from getting to where you want to be. So is it work? Is it support system at home? Is it mindset? Is it accountability? What is it? So then I know when you start slipping, how I can actually have my staff interject. Then from there, we'll have people kind of, go into either one-on-one training, group training, or some hybrid of the two. And that's kind of like our process of how we get people onboarded now. In the past, it was just like, hey, just jump into a free class, or here's a free week or something. So it's evolved over the years in terms of that.
So you're focused more on actually getting people
our avatar, but also people that want to be here and want to work, right? So like if I have someone that's scattered, and one of the questions on our discovery call that we ask that throws people off, I'm like, hey, is this a right now thing for you? Or are you looking around? And if they say, oh, I'm looking around, I'm like, hey, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you speaking to me. You have our contact info. If and when you are ready, please give us a call back, because we're only looking to work with people that want to make a change right now. And you'd be surprised how many people either appreciate that or like, no, like I'm ready. And it's not like a sales tactic. It's just like, we don't want to work with people that aren't sure if they want to work with us. We want to work with people that want to work with us, that want to make a change. And we're in a transient area in White Plains. So whether that means working with us for 6 months or 2 years or 5 years, we know that we've instilled those habits in them so that when they move to another area, one of the first things they're going to be looking for is a similar gym that they can continue on this path and lifestyle. That's really important to me.
Yeah. That probably speaks volumes to your culture here as well. Like where your staff is bought into that same big vision. Like we truly want to help people. It's not transactional. Because that's, I mean, listen, like and that's why I'm doing these podcasts too for small businesses, because one, people don't know how challenging small business is.
Oh yeah.
And two, like small business, no matter where you are the ones that really care. Like, because they're so invested in the client.
It's help first, man. Yeah. It's a help first mentality. And it's like, if you don't have that approach, it's difficult to be successful. And I know this might be a side tangent, but I think one of the things that my staff struggles with is like the sales aspect of this. So there is a sales component. But what I say is, if our mission is all help first, right? And that's the goal. We want to help our clients. We want to help our clients. We want to help ourselves as employees, and we want to help the overall overarching Westchester Fit company. We have to create a win-win-win scenario. And the way we do that is by helping the clients first. So if you have someone that's overweight and you let them come in here overweight for a year straight, and you don't broach the subject of like, hey, like, what are you struggling with? Like, what are your biggest struggles? And they tell you nutrition, and you know you can help them, and you don't offer that because you feel like, I don't want to sell them something. You're not helping them. You're not invested in helping them, because guess what? Let them make that decision if they want your help or not. At least offer, hey, we provide meal delivery service. So that excuse of not having time, we've nixed that. We have meal delivery service here that provides like really healthy macros and accountability for you to be able to just purchase meals. So if the client then's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I want your help. We can then provide a service that helps them lose weight. And guess what happens? That improves the client retention. It makes them feel really good. Like, wow, I'm getting great results. The coach can then make a little more money because they're selling that service and they're helping provide that. And guess what happens? Then the business wins. I win because my clients are happy. My staff is happy. And now we can take a little bit off the top, because at the end of the day, like any business owner that says they don't want to be profitable is full of shit. Oh, yeah, right? And some of them think that this is not a charity for me. Like I obviously want to help people, but I also want to make a living and be able to provide for my family. And the only way for us to do that is to create this win-win-win scenario where it's not just me personally trying to force my staff into selling stuff or force clients into buying stuff that they don't need. We try to provide things that people need. And if they don't need them, if somebody doesn't need nutrition coaching, I'm not going to sell them on nutrition coaching. Yeah. I'm not going to sell them anything. Hey, you're doing a great job. Keep it up. In 3 months, we're going to meet again. And if you have a new goal that you want help with and we can help you, then I'm going to offer you that help. And if we can't, I'm just going to keep saying kudos. Every 3 months, let's just check in and see where you're at. Yeah, no, that's a really good mindset, the win-win-win, because similarly, in my field, the same issue. Like the sale, once you drop that word sales, people get a feeling around that. And I don't know, I'm curious on why you think that is from the staff perspective. I think it's, I just feel like the stigma people always get is the sleazy car salesman, right? That they're just trying to sell you something that you don't need. But the truth is, in your field, you're resolving an issue with pain. I have not found a bigger motivator to spend money than being in pain, right? For us, people being unhealthy, out of shape, and framing it in a context of like, that's why we ask so many questions. It's like, well, why do you want to lose weight? Why is that important to you? Oh, I want to feel better. Cool. What does that mean to you? XYZ. Okay. And why is that important to you? well, because, growing up, like my mom was sick and she couldn't play. Okay, now we're getting somewhere, right? Because if we could get to the root cause of why being healthy is important for someone. And for most people, what is it? They want to look good. They want to feel good. They might want to have children. They might want to be able to play with their kids for a long period of time. Heart disease might run in their family. They might have lost a parent in their 50s and they don't want to fall to that same casualty, right? So like when we get to the deep crux of why it is that people need our help, and sometimes people don't know. So you have to be able to ask inquisitive questions. So like I say, peel the layers of the onion and pull it out. And that's a unique skill that over time I've learned, because it's really weird. My staff is all very introverted and I feel like I am well, people think I'm an introvert, but I think I am introverted because I spend so much time talking to people. So by the end of the day, I'm so checked out. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to talk to anybody now. And a lot of it is getting really deep, like talking to people about really deep shit that they feel comfortable within the first 2 to 3 minutes. I build rapport where someone's telling me about they're depressed. They had a family member commit suicide. They're addicted to drugs. It's like, whew, like where else is someone outside of therapy going to tell you all of this stuff? Yeah, and then I have to take that information and like, okay, how do I direct this in a sense where they can continue to feel comfortable, like kind of opening up to me, and let them know that they can trust my staff and that we're going to be able to help them. It's a lot. I mean, it's very, very deep stuff. So I think that extra layer is, it's hard. It's because, and training staff on not just having surface level conversation and really being able to just be like, you have to dig a little deeper than like writing an answer like they want to feel good. Like, what the hell does that mean? That's so arbitrary. How do you measure that? Right? So it's a lot of training. And I think that's my role in business now. It's mentoring and training my staff so they could create careers for themselves and feel as fulfilled as I do. And that's where I get my fulfillment now, is like training and mentoring my staff.
That's great. And I think you touched the way to combat the sales is really to dig deep, because you are going to make an impact in that person's life, and that's your duty to understand how you're going to change an impact. You're not just trying to sell them on a membership, right? You're trying to like change their life, and that's an integral part. Because like from our standpoint too, like you said, pain is a motivator, but it's not just pain either. Like if someone's like, I just want to get out of pain. It's like, yeah, no one wants to be in pain.
Right.
How do you dig deeper and really like, I'm trying to change someone's life. I'm not trying just to get out of pain. So that's
right.
That's the valuable aspect where you're like, okay, we want to build a connection. We're not transactional. We are a relationship.
Right. Because the first person they're going to think about, if they know someone in a similar situation as you guys, as a referral, as just that connection. I mean, and that's the thing. It's building connections. If my gym were to close tomorrow, the amount of connections and people that would come out of the woodwork that would want to help me get back on my feet, you can't put a price on that, right? And it's because I have people that I haven't worked with. I had a guy that I hadn't worked with in 8 years, used to be a member here. He reached out to me, and I do fully remote coaching with him and his wife. They're in the city. And I was like, I'm not going to mention his name, but I'm like, hey, John, I'm flattered that you're thinking about me, but like, man, I feel like maybe like if you want, like, this is a conversation to me. You're my friend. Like, I'm happy to help you find a gym in the area or a trainer that might serve you better. He's like, no, I really trust you. He's like, so I'd rather work out at home and get a worse workout and know that you're programming it with your intention, because I have a heart condition. As you know, I was in the best shape of my life when I worked with you. I really trust you, and I've gained all this weight, and I really need to get it off because we're trying to start a family. So I was like, wow, the fact that I impacted this person that much, and they're going to pay me X amount of money to do their nutrition and their online programming and just be like a coach and accountability person for them to shoot the breeze with, almost like lifestyle coaching. Like, I was like, that's really powerful that I've had that kind of impact on people. And he's not the first person that's done that, right? I had a lot of people reach out during COVID, and it kind of shows that the connections you make with people, and the impact you have on them, they never forget. So,
very valuable stuff.
Yeah.
Great. Let's circle back now to that 30-day sprint you were talking about. Can we give an example of something specific that you guys are doing here on the whole flow? So someone could break it down.
Yeah. So let me think. So I had, for example, we use a metric called average revenue per member, right? So how can you service your clients more to get more out of these existing clients, right? And from the client perspective, it might be like, okay, well, one of the parts of that process was creating a goal setting culture where every 90 days now, we sit down with our clients that want to sit down with us and review what their goals are. Hey, these are the goals you set 90 days. These were the action items we gave you. Like, what have you done with this? Sometimes they've done nothing. Sometimes they've done everything. Those that have done nothing usually have accomplished nothing. And I'm like, hey, well, what are your goals now? Still the same thing. Hey, well, last time we spoke, you said that we agreed that, Joe, you said you wanted to lose 20 pounds. I gave you all these little tidbits like, hey, try to eat protein at every meal. We went through what protein was and you told me you were on board and drink more water and let's try to get an extra 1,500 steps a day. You haven't executed on any of these things, but you're telling me your goals are still the same. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't remind you that last time we made an agreement, you told me we would work on nutrition coaching together, which we know is X fee. It's going to be an extra, $200 a month to do this. We have a 3-month minimum because we find that that's the minimum amount of time to build a habit. But we know that you struggle with accountability, right? You told me last time you could do it on your own and now you can't. So what do you think about doing that? And you say to me, well, yeah, you know what? I'm ready to try that now. We work together for 3 months. You get these results, you start to lose weight, and then you might go month to month coaching from then on out, right? So the idea is by selling these additional services like nutrition coaching, habits or lifestyle coaching, skill sessions, personal training, things that are really individualized to what these individual people want to accomplish that they might not just get from a group class. That was part of the process. So the first maybe 30 days of this sprint was, how do we create the proper system and ask the right questions during the goal setting consultations? Like, let's get these templates set. Then for the next 30 days, so from day 31 to 60, Chris, the business owner, is going to offer 5 consultations to the 5 best clients we have. So let's sit down and talk. Let's create this. From that, the idea is not make a sale. It's see what we can help with, see what kind of tidbits I can offer. If somebody does want coaching, then move on. And then if not, hey, we're going to check in again in 90 days and set that intention that this is what we're going to do. If you don't accomplish XYZ, like you said, based on the suggestions I've give, then this is what we're going to do to kind of counteract that 90 days from now. Then the last 90 days, train the staff. Go through the staff, go through mock trials, and then quarter 2, then we'll go, okay, now each of you guys are going to take 5 clients and bring them through this process. So that's kind of how it would be. It might be the same thing, but this one process might take 6 months to get to the point where now I created the framework, I tested the framework, I trained my staff on the framework, my staff then tested the framework, we see the results, and then by like the second go around of Q2, now we're seeing what the results were from that initial pool of people that I had, right? And that would be like the idea. So like over the course of 90 days, you might not get to that point, but over 6 months or 9 months, hey, I've created this amazing now new process that every new member is going to go through. It's going to improve retention. It's going to make them feel more connected to the gym. I've trained my staff on how to do it. So that's kind of like how I would look at a 90-day sprint, something like that. Yeah.
No, that's valuable stuff.
Yeah.
That really broke it down for a lot of people. And honestly, rewind that. You can learn a lot from how you just broke that down.
Yeah.
So let's dive a little bit into small business. You've been in business 13 years.
Yep.
It's a hell of a time. How did that start? Like, how did you start the business? And then let's dive into your biggest goals or things that you wish you knew when you were starting.
Okay. So like I said, when I started, it was a selfish endeavor for myself. I was the only show in town, and people who wanted to do this, like, they didn't really have other options. I don't think I really, honestly, it's going to sound pathetic, started treating this like a real business until like the end of 2015. It's crazy. Like the first like 5.5 years, it was like a hobby. Like, we had like a format. There was no one knew. Like I set the foundation of how to run a gym here. Yeah. So I had a lot of people that came here and then they opened their own gym. And I was a part in a bunch of other gyms. I set like, how do you run a class? You do a warm up, you do the skill training. Like there was none of that. I kind of like intuitively thought of that. But I think that the biggest pitfalls, right? As we went along were, first was taking my business seriously and professionalizing it. Like, hey dummy, like what are your standard operating procedures? How do you train a staff member to know like, this is how you should open the gym. This is how you should run a class. This is how you should close the gym. This is how everything should look. This is how the client experience. I didn't have any of that. I didn't even have full-time staff. I had just a bunch of people that I bartered with. So it's like professionalizing the staff and the systems and all that stuff, which I think is the number one small business struggle. That's the first thing I dealt with. The second thing I then dealt with, probably because that took a while, was the thought of like scaling. What do I want to do to scale my business? Do I want to open multiple? Do I want to stay here and venture out into other avenues? That wasn't as big of a qualm in my head as the professionalizing. I think then the major thing after that was COVID, right? Like COVID just completely changed the way we did business. 95% of my revenue pre-COVID was group. It's about 45 to 50% now. Completely changed the model. So COVID changed it a lot. And then now it's just been staffing, finding people that want to work and that are good quality workers. Like we got lucky last year, but like our whole mission last year was finding people. We found 3 people. 1 year, that was the focus. And I found 3 people. That's it. And it's more and more now as you go. I mean, I think the nuances of just running a successful business, realizing that I can't do it myself. And what my focus has to be, I need really good quality staff, which thank God I have, but we need more of it. So it went from like professionalizing the business, creating these standard operating procedures of how to do things so that they call it the bus test. Like if I got hit by a bus and I was out for 3 months, could the business run? Absolutely. My business would run without me being here, no questions asked. Most business owners cannot say that. I'd say the vast majority can't. So if you're out there in the world and you have a business that passes the bus test, you're doing a lot better than most people. Then it would be really just like COVID, right? Like that was crazy, and no one could have predicted how to really how to do that. And then I think the second part of the question you asked me was, what do I wish I knew now? Honestly, invest in the business, hire a mentor. Mentorship is so big right now. And if you could find somebody that has been there, has done that with a proven track record of like what to do and how to get you out of these situations, it's going to save you so much time, right? And I know at the time, 5 years ago, convincing me to invest tens of thousands of dollars, I would have been like, hell no. If I knew that now, what I know now then, I would have invested tens of thousands of dollars then, knowing that my business would have, 10x'd. Not just financially, but like mentally, the headspace I'm at and what I'm able to provide my staff and my clients. I believe in it so much that I'm investing even more to become a mentor for small business myself, because I think I'm so passionate about helping people that want to help others. That would be the number one piece of advice that I would give people. Seek out somebody that knows more than you, that's been where you've been and has gotten to where you want to be. You're going to save yourself a lot of time, frustration, and money, actually. You will.
I agree. 100% agree with that. Now, for a specific aspect of the mentor, if you're just starting out, you still think you should just find money, take a loan, and get a mentor?
I think so. I think so, unless you really have no idea. Like if you have an idea of what you're doing and you have a really good baseline and, there's a lot of free resources, let's just say, I would say one of the first things I would hire is either a virtual assistant or an administrative assistant that you could pass along some of the tasks. Like we use an exercise in my program called the value ladder, where you start to look at things like, okay, like what are the things I do in my business? I clean my floors, I answer emails, I answer phone calls, all the way up to higher level stuff. Like I'm selling like, $1,000 personal training package. You need to be able to give off some of those lower value tasks to somebody that could do them and that could do them well to free you up to do the higher level tasks. And in the beginning, I didn't want to spend money, so I tried to do everything myself. I wore every hat, and what that made me also was very bitter and angry and agitated. And guess who then that gets taken out on?
Your staff, clients.
Your clients. Well, when you have no staff, your clients, right? It's like, wow, this guy's mopping the floor. He's a real asshole. And the amount of times that I like had those interactions early on, I mean, it's thank you to everyone that stuck with us for a long time, because I was not very pleasant. I was not a pleasant guy, and that's putting it lightly. And as the years have progressed, I've learned why I wasn't. It's because I was doing too much of things that didn't serve the greater purpose. And it was because I was trying to be cheap, think, if I do this, I'll save money. But that's, you're not going to save your way into like a successful business. It's not going to happen. Sure. I'm not saying go out and spend thousands of dollars on every single thing that's thrown at you, but be very tactical about where you spend your money. And that's why I think mentorship is so important. I really think that they could just tell you, hey, spend your money objectively on these 3 places. Let's see how that works over 3 to 6 months, see how you grow. And then maybe you're making enough to hire a first coach to help you with some of the classes. So then in the mornings, you have more time to answer emails and follow up with leads and stuff, right?
Yeah, no, that's extremely valuable. And I would even double down on that advice. Getting a mentor early on is key, man. It cuts the learning curve.
Yeah.
It takes you from A to C way faster.
For sure.
For you, vision-wise, let's talk your vision for Westchester Fit, and then let's go a little bit about personal. I know you're getting more into entrepreneurial stuff, like where you see.
Yeah. So Westchester Fit vision. I'd like to be a staple in the community. We've been here for 13 years. I think it'd be really cool to be around for 20, 25, 30 years. The vision doesn't change. It's always been the same. It's always been to help people in whatever capacity. And I can't say, with just having gone through COVID, it's like you never know what's going to happen in the world, what form you're going to have to take. And I think just making sure that people understand that the human personal connection will never be replaced by AI, by machine, by any of that stuff. So if we can continue to touch and impact people's lives to the extent where 8 years down the road, they might reach out and be like, hey, you're the first person I thought of with this. That's kind of the vision I have. I'd love to make long-lasting careers where my full-time coaches are here forever and they feel fulfilled, and, they meet their significant other. If they don't have one, they have kids, and they bring their kids up here. That's what I want. Like a family-owned business that just sustains the test of time. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. What about your personal?
Oh, man.
13 years here. I know you're itching for some.
So I got into this business originally helping people. Like I like training people. I don't really get to do that much more because I have full-time staff. So there's only so much that I can do and also provide my staff opportunity. What I'm looking at now are other avenues to allow me to connect and interact with people and have freedom. It used to be financial freedom, which I think is important. And I think now my biggest thing is freedom of time. So how do I want to spend my day? Man, I love keeping my cup full. So I like working out. I like training Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I like interacting with guys in the jiu-jitsu school that might need help with nutrition, habits. Like shit, I've been talking to people now about small business stuff. They're so intrigued by the things that I'm doing that they're constantly asking me questions, which led me into this mentorship route that I'm working now with a company called Two Brain Business to become a small business mentor and coach. Primarily helping gyms, but I'm going through the certification process where I can help physical therapy clinics, accounting practices, florists, anybody really, because the framework for building business is all the same, right? So that route, and then from a financial standpoint, it's getting into the real estate rental market, short-term rental to be specific right now. I'm looking at my second home, Miami, trying to find some stuff, but it's really just not keeping my eggs in one basket. I'm invested in the market, invested in crypto, have obviously much of my investment in the gym space itself, but just kind of trying to spread that out because I got it to a point during COVID where I was like, I can never be in a position where if my way of making money and supporting my family and lifestyle is taken away from me, that's the only thing I have to rely on. And I was like, I'll never be in a position like that again. So that's kind of what led me to be like, okay, I got to look at these different avenues and be really intelligent and strategic. And guess what? I've hired a coach to help me with these things as well. So, right?
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Well, any last words or to tell people where to find out about you or the gym?
Yeah, so you can follow us on social media. I mean, my personal Instagram handle, which is where I put most of my stuff, is Coach_Chris_Guerrero. Post a ton of just free, valuable content on fitness, nutrition tips. People ask me questions. I make content about it. Our gym handle is Westchester Fit. We're also on Facebook. We're not on TikTok or anything else like that. I probably should be, but we're not. And our website, I post blogs every week, really helpful blogs, helping people. I try to do that once a week. And I would just say, for people looking to find us and what we offer, if you are somebody that is looking to make a long-lasting change in your physical or mental health, we provide a service that I think is very unique that can help you with both, where you are not just going to be a name on the roster at a bigger box facility, or you're not going to be thrust into like this just super high intensity program. If that's not where you should be, then I think we're the spot for you. And at the very minimum, you could book a discovery call with us, and we'll be honest with you if we can help you. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you. This was great.
You got it.
There's a lot
Thank you.
of components in there.
Thank you, man.